the Rude Dog Show, everybody. This is Rudy Reyes. Thanks for tuning in. We have a ghost tale to tell you here on the Rude Dog Show. Don't be too surprised, and I probably would kind of spare the entire ghost tale, or I have a tale to tell you, a tall tale to tell you here. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. We're going to talk about last night's game. And I don't mean to laugh. I'm not trying to laugh to poke fun at this. What I'm laughing about is the fact that ESPN had not cut or edited Sam Darnold's comments about him seeing a ghost on the field last night. Of course, too early for Christmas. Goes to Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future. I don't know what they're stating. I don't know what Sam Darnold was talking about there on the field. Now, don't forget, I interviewed him last year, and by no means did he come across to me as some type of guy who believed in ghosts or spirits. He wasn't walking around with this, with this chakra or anything else. He was just a guy who got drafted by the New York Jets. Well, last night they failed. They failed in a lot of categories, and sadly, when I look back at this game, I think to myself, I spent an entire, 2 hours watching this show. And of course, you didn't hear about it first. You're hearing about it now. Patriots acquire Mohamed Sanu from the Falcons and send them a second-round pick. Patriots don't need a second-round pick. Are you serious? They don't have Gronkowski, so they go after a guy with Mohamed Sanu. Of course, with the deadline approaching in the NFL, there's a lot of changes that are happening. And of course, nothing as far as changes from other teams in the NFL. They feel that they're doing good. Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars acquired 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey, who's now and is going to be in his second game playing for the Los Angeles Rams. Had a pretty decent game last weekend, but I certainly want to get into last night's game before I get any further. And of course, what the Jets didn't do is what they continually do not do. But it's more about what the Patriots did right. The ability for this team to nonchalantly treat this win as if they played with backup players, and in some instances, they actually created substitutes in order to get these guys to play. For example, Jacoby Myers was inserted in the lineup as well, so that way him and Tom Brady can work on symmetry, can work on a progressive communication on the field. And you have to have those reps in order to make that a reality. It would almost stand to reason that the 4 Darnold picks were miscues and not acquiring the right footing to effectively do one of 2 things when you're outside of the pocket. If there's nothing there, throw the ball away. That's a fundamental thing. That's what Sam Darnold had done while he was at USC. The second thing is do not throw an interception. And as a first, second-year player in the NFL, those are essentially fundamental attributes you would acquire from any player that's attended a 4-year university under Coach Clay Helton. And under that, I'm more than confident to suggest that he knew when and when not to get rid of the ball. He was trying to make something out of nothing. And again, it goes back to these ghosts that he says were on the field. And I'm not laughing at him. I'm just laughing at the notion that he believes that there were ghosts on the field. This isn't baseball. This isn't, angels in the outfield. This isn't where someone's going to, this winged creature's going to fly down and pick this thing up and to be able to throw it back in order to make some type of astronomical play. This was not the case at all. As a matter of fact, NFL Films very unhappy with the fact that they got on recorded audio and, of course, video stating that he's seen ghosts on the football field. Now, let's put this into perspective. First of all, doesn't instill confidence from your coach. And, of course, your players are, they have their finger doing the loony sign on the side of your head. It just makes you wonder, what exactly did they see? What did they not see? And when I look at this, I think to myself, well, coach is probably going to have to look at this and say, what did you see that I didn't? No, he's seen defenders. If those were ghosts and he considers defenders a ghost, then so be it. But they weren't ghosts. They were much more real than he probably had surmised to. So that doesn't say anything about what the coach had. And the players clearly believe that your mind maybe isn't on the game. Maybe you're distracted. I mean, he just came back his second game in from having mono. And a guy like this who had been picked relatively high over Josh Rosen, by the way, Josh Rosen, I've said this on past shows, this is a Rude Dog Show. Go to TheRudeDogShow.com. And if you want to market with TheRudeDogShow.com, I have some great, exciting news for you as well. So don't be miffed in regards to radio marketing. I can certainly do that for you. Go to TheRudeDogShow.com or send me an email at TheRudeDogShow@hotmail.com. So he was picked relatively high. and I look at Josh Rosen. He was clearly upset. Josh Rosen wasn't ready for the NFL either, but that's a whole nother story. And when I think to myself, you see ghosts on the field, it doesn't really say a whole lot to me as a broadcast personality, a reporter, somebody who is objective enough to think, what does he mean? What is he trying to say? What is out there? I just think, and again, I'm not making fun of him. I just think this is completely ridiculous to suggest that there were ghosts on the field. What did he see? Did he need to call Scooby-Doo? What was the situation there? And to be quite honest with you, he would have got away with it if it wasn't for those pesky kids. So let me just put that out there. Kids meaning the Patriots who intercepted him 4 times. Now, let's look at this a little bit more deeper in detail. His mind was not in the game, obviously. Maybe he was ready for Halloween a little bit too early. Maybe he had hit the Sugar Bowl a little bit too early with all those snacks and goodies that'll be ready in about 10 days for Halloween. Maybe he took his sister's pre-bag with candy. I don't know. But Darnold has to make those throws at the next level. And it didn't help that he was chased by a pack of defensive linemen every single time, on every single down, was pressured in every step that he had taken on the field. Now, don't forget, his offensive line has to do him the favors of allowing him time in order to get the ball progressively downfield. Didn't happen. It just didn't happen. Offensive line is horrible. And, of course, you can't take the blame away from Adam Gase. And I've said this before on my show, I've said it on other shows. Adam Gase has no business being in the NFL. None. The fact alone that he has bamboozled his way into all these coaching positions before this one was the Miami Dolphins. He's barely a 500 coach. So it makes you wonder exactly what type of game plan he had, how he was going to execute it. And of course, you're trying to execute it with, against the number 1 overall defense and offense in the NFL. There was no game plan. And that's not something that Adam Gase's strong points are and have ever alluded to, was the fact that he had a strong game plan, strong mindset in order to be able to outplay, outcoach a guy like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. It just did not happen. But with this offensive line not doing what he needed to do, you can only suggest that there are very many reasons, along with him seeing ghosts on the field, for a reason for the fumble. We're going to blame the ghosts on that one too, and maybe even the interceptions that we talked here on the show a little bit ago. I couldn't imagine Patrick Swayze making an appearance at MetLife Stadium last night. I really want to just drive this into the ground because it just makes me feel like the actual ghosts were the Patriots defenders. But don't forget, they stymied him with all types of exotic defensive looks, and at other times, Darnold just tried to force the ball because he was throwing off his back foot. I look at the situation as a whole. And again, one of those things you don't throw is an interception. And of course, if there's nothing there, you just throw the ball away. Simple. In some instances, you could tuck and run. I mean, he was under pursuit the entire game. So it begs the question as to whether or not he had the ability to get out of the way. He was chased every single time and every single step. But to be quite honest with you, I just don't think that there was a game plan. I don't think that Darnold was ready for this matchup. And it clearly shows that Patriots won handily. And basically goose-egged them, donut-holed them into a 1-5 situation. A 1-6, but 1-5 makes 6. So the situation that he finds himself in is basically an uphill battle. And it's really shocking that he wasn't pulled from the beginning of the turnovers, before turnover. How do you not pull a guy? I mean, how do you not pull? It doesn't matter. He's second year in the NFL, and it just makes you wonder where he's going to be in the next 5, 6, 7 years. Adam Gase is not the answer in New York. Not with the Jets anyway. Obviously, I don't think Adam Gase will work anywhere in the NFL. And you're probably wondering why are you so critical over this guy? Well, I'm critical because he's not critical enough to figure out that in critical game time situations, yeah, fine, so they got a sack. I don't attribute that to Adam Gase's game plan. It had nothing to do with him. It had nothing to do with what his thought process was before ever getting on the field, matching up with a mastermind like Bill Belichick. Now, don't forget, Adam Gase is no massive, brain wave. I mean, he didn't exactly get off the boat, but at the same token, you can't outwit a master. A master? Okay. I guess the master would go to that Skywalker preview yesterday. Now, that was very interesting. And, of course, Gase is no Skywalker. I'm just throwing that out there right now. If anybody was Skywalker, it would clearly have been Bill Belichick. I'd like to look comparisons out there because that's exactly who he is, or the master of evil, or the mastermind, if you will. Either way, however you take it, however you slice it, that's how you're going to do it. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. And again, if you want to market with me and you like the personality, you like the energy, you like the voice, you like everything about it, I can certainly do that for you and would have some great news to discuss that with you. Throw me an email at TheRudeDogShow at hotmail.com. Yes, I still use Hotmail. I know I'm one of those odd ducks out there. But there's not a whole lot to say any more than I haven't already said about a guy, Sam Darnold, or even Adam Gase. But I think there's more to say about Tom Brady and what others have said or not said about his ability to pick apart defenses, despite only being sacked once last night. He didn't have monster numbers. He didn't have monster completions. He didn't have a monster QBR rating. For those that don't know, that's quarterback rating. And I look at this situation with Tom Brady. How long? Of course, Adam Schefter having a pregame conversation with Bill Belichick, and we'll go about that in just a moment. But Tom Brady has been nothing short of just excellent. Being able to pick apart defenses, doing it on a consistent basis. This year, he's averaging almost 8 yards per throw, only picked off 4 times. He's at 11 touchdowns and a QBR overall of almost 95. So almost at 100. Last night was a little bit interesting because he only completed 59 of 87 passes, which isn't extremely Brady-like, and I think it has a lot to do with that one Edelman drop. Jacoby Myers not on the same page as well. Of course, we had talked about him earlier in the show being the learning wide receiver in the core wide receivers they have there in New England. 249 yards, 1 interception, and ended the game at a mild-mannered 80.7 QBR. That's not bad. I like the numbers, but I think more important, you have to look at what he has done, what he consistently does, game in and game out. I'll give you an example. So against New York, they won that 31-41, 334 yards. His QBR was almost like 30. It wasn't very good because don't forget the New York Football Giants have been if there's anything you could put there, it's a mano-a-mano. No, we're not talking about Sam Darnold and the Jets anymore. We're talking about the Giants. So with the Giants, you have 35-14 win. QBR wasn't very good, but he was effective. And again, that had a lot to do with the defense. And that's one game he did not have a touchdown against. Don't forget, defenses are the way to get to a guy like Tom Brady. And case in point, in Buffalo, even though it was a W, it wasn't a strong W, it was a decent W. So at 16-10, or 16-10, what was the final, Tom Brady only had a QBR of 21.4 and also had an interception. So in the last 4 games, he's had 4 interceptions. Reminds me of Joe Flacco, right? In the last 5-6 games, Joe Flacco's had an interception in every one of those games. Not that there's any comparison between Joe Flacco and Tom Brady, but only in the fact that the interceptions were there and they were prevalent and they were existent. And they continue to be. He didn't throw an interception last night. He did have 2 touchdowns, however, 28 for 42. He didn't do too bad. He wasn't horrible. He wasn't horrible by any means. He was very methodic. And I think when you look at the season overall and almost 2,000 passing yards, an average of, like I said, almost of 7.4 with 11 touchdowns, that actually says a lot about what system he's in. And to be honest with you, I don't know that Adam Schefter really got the full understanding that Tom Brady's been in this New England Patriots system since he was drafted. So for him to think about going to another team or packing up or facing a new challenge, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen because he's going to recognize that other offenses and offensive coordinators, head coaches, aren't Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's helped with the architecture behind this New England Patriots offensive system. Defensively, that's a whole other story. They did have Matt Patricia. He's having his own woes in Detroit. But they're doing a relatively decent job not only controlling the clock, but utilizing some interesting NFL rules about a loophole. And, of course, Bill Belichick goes on to state by his own omission, he says, no, it was just a way rules are set up. We were able to run quite a bit of time off the clock without really having to do anything. That's probably a loophole that will be closed and probably should be closed, but right now it's open. And then he goes on to say that, to be fair, this is a dumb rule and the NFL should change it. You think they should change it? Change it to benefit whom? Change it to benefit him? Change it to benefit Every team in the NFL, yeah, probably so. They should probably close that already. But it's a rule. He utilized it and didn't lose any yardage on that punt. So it makes you wonder exactly, you know, it questions the intelligence of why that rule is still in there, why it should not be in there, and why alone do you feel that you could use this rule to your advantage. Well, it's not illegal. They used the rule, and that's exactly what he did. Last night, shot out 33-0. 33-0. Goose egg, donut, zero, zilch, nada for the New York Jets on a doomsday at 1-5. New England rolls on to 7-0. So, in a scoring summary, it was absolute chaos from the word go in this game. And right now, I'm looking at the New England Patriots at 17 points for one, 7 points in the second, 2 points in the third, 7 in the fourth, and just basically manhandled Sam Darnold on that offensive line continuously. And I think, moreover, when you look at where the Jets are right now, they're just absolutely horrible. So Tremaine Johnson got an interception yesterday. That doesn't really surprise me. Nobody had anything else whatsoever. No sacks from Roberts, Cashman, Poole, Adams, Phillips, or Copeland. And to be quite honest with you, I look at this situation in New York, and I think to us, you have a coach that doesn't know what he's doing for the most part, and basically a head coach for a football team who's been struggling since the likes of, I don't know, Joe Namath. And how about that piece on Gastineau yesterday? You like that piece on Gastineau? I love that piece on Gastineau. I like his demeanor, his humility. We follow each other on Facebook. I had first-hand account of looking at everything that he had posted in regards to what he was doing to fight cancer. I've had many people affected by cancer. They've passed away from cancer, but I wish the best and recovery for Mark Gastineau, for the New York Jets, and of course for life, for him. And it was a very touching piece. I definitely appreciated everything about that piece. But speaking of pieces, I think the Jets are falling apart. They're setting themselves up for another seeding in the NFL draft in 2020. And it makes you wonder exactly what they're going to go after, what they're going to do. They need offensive linemen. They need a wide receiver. And if I were the Jets, if I was the front office, and of course I don't make the decisions there, and it's a very tough call to make to suggest that Sam Darnold is not the quarterback of the future there. But when you start talking about ghosts on the field, I don't know. I think you could probably ask yourself, maybe the mono got to his brain. I don't know. I really don't know. Offensively, other than him, Le'Veon Bell had a relatively mild-mannered night. I mean, he did have 70 yards, 15 carries, almost 5 yards per carry. But that doesn't really say anything about, who this Jets team is. And, of course, he could have easily stayed in Pittsburgh behind a better offensive line to do more. And I called this way before the season ever started, that he was sent over as a free agent acquisition to the New York Jets, and a guy who he could have done a lot better in Pittsburgh had he stayed there. But players have to move on. They have to go on. They have to live on, and they have to get their money. They have to be paid, and they want to be in an environment they feel is beneficial for them. There's no blame for that. There's no blame at all. You can share or pass on, or in any other capacity, be the guy that you essentially want to be a part of as far as an organization is concerned. So Le'Veon Bell, a guy who is good. Will he be great behind this offensive line? Probably not. Will the Jets restructure this next year? More than likely, if they know that what they're doing right now is not actually working, you may want to go back to the drawing board and try something different. Ty Montgomery, 2 carries for 9 yards. Bilal Powell, 1 for 3. Sam Darnold, 2 for 1. Demaryius Thomas, also very minuscule, 3 for 42 yards. Jamison Crowder, 4 for 26. Robbie Anderson, 1 for 10. So it's not exactly stellar numbers by any means. But I think when you look at the Jets and you look at what they're trying to do offensively, I just don't think it's there. And I think that game against the Dallas Cowboys, which is a previous game in Week 6, was I don't know, luck. Maybe if you're really into that kind of thing. I'm not, but luck certainly can play a part and a role of what your organization does. But I think it's more about skill and opportunity, and where those two meet is where luck exists. So defensively, for the New England Patriots, of course, as we discussed this, one pick by Devin McCourty. Of course, the guy's an All-Pro. Um, Terrence Brooks, he also had an interception. Stephon Gilmore, two-time Super Bowl champ, All-Pro, one. Deron Harmon, one. And then, of course, you get lots of guys into the act. Philip Dorsett had a touchdown. Nobody thought he would see him, but I think that was a breakout touchdown for him, which is much needed. As much as they try to work Julian Edelman in, you have seven receptions, 47 yards. It's just kind of menial, really, but I think it was about the defense, like it usually is. He ended the night, Tom Brady, 31-45, 240 yards, one touchdown, one interception. And, of course, they did it on the ground with Sony Michel, 42 yards. So he had a similar night like Le'Veon Bell did. The problem is that there's a much better offensive line there in New England than you'll probably ever find in New York. And, of course, all-time winners against New York Jets are the New England Patriots. This is my breakdown. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. I'll be on tonight. So stay tuned for the Sports Exchange. And then tomorrow I'll have David West. And don't forget, I will also have Will Blackman on. Interestingly enough, I'm very excited to have him on as well. But this is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. Thanks for tuning in. And tune in to the Sports Exchange tonight at 7 o'clock. Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll have those links posted on Twitter. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Rudy Reyes on The Rude Dog Show.